Welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for tuning in with us today, and welcome to Rock the Test with Edulastic and Google Classroom. Today we're covering how these EdTech tools work together, and we have three special guests who are sharing how they use these resources in their classroom. But before we get started, I do have a couple housekeeping items. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so for today's webinar format, there we go. We will start off with some introductions, go into an overview of how Edulastic and Google Classroom work, head into presentations with our special panelists, and if all goes to schedule, there'll be 20 minutes for questions and answers at the end. I'm your host today. My name is Ileana Betancourt, and I'm the marketing manager here at Edulastic, and I love what I do here because it's my job to be the bridge and connect you with great resources available through Edulastic and our partnerships. I'm joined by my colleague, Jan Moody, and several others who are here and ready to answer your questions. I'll just give you a quick tour of the room.
Hi.
So some of the faces behind the names. And next, I'd like to introduce you to the chat and where you can also enter your questions. So we encourage asking questions and sharing ideas throughout this webinar. And with such a vibrant community of educators on this webinar, we want you to chime in with your insights, thoughts, and comments on the chat. This is what your page can look like if you turn on the chat. If you go up to meeting at the top menu, you scroll down. Let me see if I can annotate this, get the pointer. You see my pointer? That will say open chat if your chat's not open yet. Oops. And once you open it, it'll appear over here. You also might have a floating chat, so it might look different for different people. The next thing to look at is down here. I think someone is audio is on. Can you check the audio? Thanks.
Mama, ready to
And then over here, you'll see you can send to all panelists or all panelists and attendees. Make that set to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see the contributions that you're adding to the chat. Okay. And then let's see. The next thing I wanted to say is the Q&A is where we encourage you to put your questions and where we can answer them today. This is really important today because we're expecting a really large crowd, which is very exciting. This is going to be our largest webinar yet, I believe. And so if you add your questions to the Q&A here, we will be able to see them, and then we will be able to respond to them. And we'll respond to as many as we can. If there are a lot of questions and we don't get to them, we'll follow up in an email with the answers to those questions. We'll answer them on the fly if we can, and if not, we'll save them till the end. So please ask questions, add insights. We want to hear from you. Okay, and then next, I wanted to ask who is ready to rock the test. Since I can't see everyone out in the audience, I would still like to get an idea of who is here with us. And so I'm going to launch a poll. Let's see. Let me go ahead and find where that is. Here we go. So I'm going to launch a poll. Launch the poll. So it's asking 5 questions to find out who's in the room with us today. The second thing I want to ask you to do is go ahead and type in the chat box. I want to make sure that's working for us and that everyone's comfortable using it. Type in where you're tuning in from and what brought you here today. Okay, so it already says your name, so just add in where you're tuning in from and what brought you here today. Then we're going to give a little bit of time for you to answer that poll and chime in the chat. I see some familiar names, which is great. Checking up. So we have, from our registrations, I know we have people tuning in from all over the country. We even have someone chiming in from Nigeria. Bravo to you, Martin, for joining us. Kudos. We have Matthew from Toledo, Ohio. Awesome, welcome. Sarah from Chesapeake, Virginia. Jessica from Cleveland, Ohio. Awesome, welcome. Hi, Tim, welcome from Colorado. Katie, we know you, hello. Glad you're here. Teresa from Massachusetts, Sarah from North Carolina, Patricia from California, Ann from Indiana, Sarah from Missouri, Christy from Georgia, Karen from Ohio. Awesome. All right, and it looks like people are filling out the polls. 73%. Oh, we have 70, almost 80% of everyone voted. All right, you have, looks like you have 2 minutes. Oh, no, you've had it open for 2 minutes. You have 1 minute to finish the poll. Who else is here? Cool, and I want to remind you that if you have your chat set to all panelists, use that little drop-down menu bar above where you type your message to switch to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see what you're saying. You too, Jan. Ooh, science teacher, nice. Awesome, welcome Grace, welcome Joanne, welcome Devin, welcome Eddie. Cool, I've never seen that spelling. Richard. Okay, so I'm gonna close this poll. And let's see, I'll share the results. All right, so it looks like we have the most people here have made an account and looked around. Cool, hopefully you'll get a better idea of what's possible here. But we have a wide variety of users, it looks like, including people who've been using Edulastic often. So no matter whether you're brand new or if you've used it for a while, feel free to chime in the chat if you have thoughts or ideas or insights from what's worked for you. It looks like we have a lot of Google Classroom users. That's fantastic. Welcome. And same with you. If you have thoughts or ideas, please add to the chat. A lot of teachers and coach specialists. One principal or assistant principal. And are you already using Edulastic and Google Classroom together? It looks like about half and more people are not using them together yet. You hear the audio background? And it looks like a lot of people got an email about the event. Okay, awesome. All right, let's move on. I will close the poll for now. Okay. So quick overview. Can you check the audio? Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Great. Okay, so quick overview of Edulastic and Google Classroom. So Edulastic is a K-12 digital assessment platform that's used by educators around the country, and as of April 2019, 1 billion questions have been answered on Edulastic. And from our calculations, educators have saved over 223 years of grading from Edulastic's auto-grading features since the beginning, since our 5 years. There are over 35,000 items available, 30,000 assessments available, standards tracking, mastery reports, and then it also mimics and the look and feel of state assessments. So that's a quick overview of Edulastic. For Google Classroom is free for teachers and helps students organize assessments, boost collaboration, and foster better communication. You can manage your students. It's cloud-based, so everything is saved, keeps everything in one place, shares resources, documents, and assessments, and has a grade book. And both of these tools are free for teachers. So I want to take a look at how they integrate together, and then I'll pass it off to our panelists. So Edulastic and Google Classroom work together to provide a seamless, awesome tool for teachers. Single sign-on when you're logging into Edulastic through it. Not only, I'll go into detail on these, but there's roster sync, you can share assessments, and then there's also now Google Grade Sync. For a single sign-on, teachers can simply sign on with their Google account, and students can also just go right from their Google Classroom into an assessment rather than having multiple logins, which I know, and I quote, has saved IT teachers from headache. They've told me that themselves. There's also roster sync, which is another big one. If you're creating assessments or tests or quizzes, instead of having to upload all your students by hand, you can really simply go on and sync all of your Google Classrooms with Edulastic, so all of your classes just populate right in there. Another way to do it is by entering the Google Classroom code for individual classes. Now, this is what that looks like. There's also assessment sharing. So once you have an assessment ready to go in Edulastic, there are multiple share options. Teachers can share as a graded assessment through Google Classroom, which means that the grades will go into the gradebook, or they can share as an ungraded assessment on Google Classroom. And this is a relatively new feature, which we're very excited about. With the Google Grade Sync, the grades from Edulastic assessments go right into the gradebook. And here's a look at what that looks like. So you can see the date of the quiz name, and how students did out of the full score of the assessment. And this is just one assessment. If there were more, then it would continue to populate here. So a lot of times we get the question, what's the difference between Edulastic and Google Forms? And we asked that recently. Oh, I wonder why that didn't change. We asked that recently on our Edulastic community page on Facebook. And one of the answers we got, should I refresh this maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, one second. Let me just exit and then re-enter, because this was recently updated. There we go. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Go Google.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are again. So where was I? Lost my train of thought. Okay. Thank you. Are you ready to graduate from Google Forms? So this question comes up a lot. What's the difference between using Google Forms and Edulastic? Google Forms, when we asked our Edulastic community page, a lot of teachers were saying that it's really great for surveys and for social improvement, whereas Edulastic is very helpful for assessments and academic improvement related tasks, such as standards-based assessments and preparing students for state assessments, or even just tracking student progress. Here are some of the direct quotes that we got from teachers. Do you wanted to see what they're saying? And then we also asked, what's your favorite thing about Edulastic and Google Classroom? So one of the things, as a teacher, Kyle Klein said, as a teacher, being able to upload rosters by using Google Classroom code is huge time saver. I don't have to worry about students inputting the wrong code, and then I have to go in and fix the rosters. So that's one of the items that were given. And this is something that a lot of teachers find that integration so easy, so simple, and makes things better for them and their students. Here are some pictures that we found on Twitter over the last few years of people using both Edulastic and Google Classroom together. So here, grade 5 students are using Chromebooks to complete an Edulastic review for tomorrow's test, as well as accelerated math practices. Students and teachers are loving their Chrome labs and the use of Google Classroom. And here are some of the things that educators are saying. So assessments today made easier with Edulastic. I love how easy it was to take something and recreate it on Edulastic and then post to Google Classroom. So here are these features in action on the ground. And finally, I feel like these features, they bring education forward into the 21st century. Technology is now allowing schools to assign things and not have to worry about making up lost work just because of inclement weather. So Cabot Middle School said, if schools close for weather, an assignment will be posted in Google Classroom or Edulastic from advisory teachers. If internet access isn't available, they'll do a paper copy later. But this capability of really easily being able to distribute work is really helpful, because you don't have to be in the same place even. And then I love this quote down here from Run Rika Run. I have recently become obsessed with Edulastic. Great way to see data after testing. You can make your own test, use test bank questions, or use one that someone else has made. And it syncs to Google Classroom. I'm so techie now. Okay. But now I'm going to let you hear from our panelists on how they're using Edulastic and Google Classroom in their classrooms. And we're going to start off with Katrina Golden, who's a computer teacher in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So Katrina, go ahead. You can turn on your camera and your audio, introduce yourself, and share and start sharing. Can you hear me, Katrina?
I can hear.
Okay. And do you need me to start your video for you? Was that okay?
100.
Is the audio working?
Does she have to unmute you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, she can't hear. Oh no. Okay. Well, we can jump ahead and then we'll come back to you. Jan will work with you. Okay, Jen, can you reach out to her?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. All right, so we're going to jump ahead and I'm going to ask Karen to turn on her video and audio, introduce herself, and get started.
Hey everyone, can everyone hear me? See me?
Yes.
Perfect. So, hi everyone, my name's Karen Hernandez. I'm also known as Karen Rabadan on social media. That's the name that I go for. It's also one of my additional last names. But I'm a high school math teacher at Shadow Hills High School in Indio, California. And if you don't know where Indio's at, you probably know about the famous Coachella Festival. So that's basically where I live. The desert's my playground. So a little bit about me. I've been teaching for 8 years. I've done 2 years in middle school. My first year was 7th grade, second year was 8th grade. And then for the past 6 years, I've been teaching at a high school level at Shadow Hills. Our slogan is Nights Do It Right. So I'm very big on promoting our students and just the school culture. I've taught here at the high school level, Math 1, CP, the college prep, which it might be known in other schools as Integrated Math 1. I also teach the honors course for Integrated Math 1, along with Integrated Math 2. The accelerated course where we have 3 years of math being taught in 2 years, along with a study skills class, which is for students with targeted intervention who were pre-identified based on data that we gathered from multiple measures. With that being said, I work at a district where Google Apps, Google Education is very big and it's very promoted. There's a lot of trainings on it. So Google Classroom, since I crossed over to the high school setting, that was the first thing we got trained on, how to use anything Google. So from there, Google Classroom became the thing to do in the classroom. So with that forum, I share, let's say, any kind of review work. I share anything from videos that I want students to review, quick little exit tickets or warm-ups, the agenda, anything that basically runs the classroom for the first 5 minutes, or the last 10 minutes of class, especially for review days on assessments, and to quickly gather data through Google Forms with Google Classroom for formatives. It's fairly easy for the use of Google Classroom with the students, and it goes back to what Ileana said earlier about one of the posts, how it's easily accessible from students that are not present in school. Maybe they're sick or an emergency happened and work is already posted. So it's like a one-stop shop. Alongside, I also use it for reflective purposes. So every quarter I like to do a little reflection as what students are doing, how can I improve in the classroom. So using a Google form with Google Classroom helps a lot for students. And it also keeps me aware of what's going on in the classroom, and it's a place where I have all the information ready to go for me to reflect on my own downtime with the students. So for Edulastic, what I use from Google Classroom and Edulastic, I love the fact that it's easily connected and you don't have to do any extra steps like posting on Edulastic in Google Classroom. You can go from Edulastic and posting it assigned to students, and it will already show up on Google Classroom. So that's really nice. The roster that syncs with whatever you have on Google Classroom, super simple. It's a one-stop place for everything, which is why I truly like Edulastic with Google Classroom. But the best part, if we go on to the next slide, I'll show you guys what I really like about Edulastic. So this is one of the features that I started playing with at the beginning of the school year. So it's omitting from grading. So let's say you created an assessment, you gave the assessment, looked at your data, and all of a sudden you notice there's one question that really is affecting your scores. And that could be for multiple reasons. The way I look at it when I look at a question, as you can see on the screen on question 1, the bar disappeared. That's because I omitted that specific question from grading. And then if you look at the omitting from grading presentation, there's a hyperlink there where I walk you through how to actually do the omitting. I set up below for you guys to do that.
Do you want me to play that right now, Karen?
Beautiful. Can we? Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Can we do that?
Yeah, just let me know what you want me to do. All right, can everyone see it? Okay, I just want to make sure people can hear it.
And if I'm going too fast, everyone, just let me know and I'll slow down. I'm a little nervous. It's my first webinar, so definitely let me know. Good.
You're doing an awesome job. All right, let me know if you can hear the audio, because I don't know if it'll go through.
One of my favorite features on Edulastic is the section where you can omit from grading questions from a formative, a summative, for whatever purpose you're using it. There's multiple reasons why, as an educator, you'd like to omit a question from grading. So, for example, on Unit 2, GCO 6, you would click on Actions. To omit question 2, all I have to do is click the checkbox, select omit from grading, and it gives you a prompt. Do be mindful that once you omit a question, the scores achieved by the student are lost and can't be recovered. And then you would click yes, and I believe there's one more window that pops up, and you click yes again. When you're done, you are able to, right here, it says confirm and regrade. So the student's grades would be recalculated. The reason I personally omitted this question, I really like this question because it encompassed the standard of GCO 6 of multiple transformations on the coordinate plane, for rigid motions, of course. But I noticed that the majority of my students had missed that question. So that tells me, as part of my reflection, that I need to go back into the classroom and reteach rigid motions on the coordinate plane from a different perspective. So students are capable of doing this on the second go around. And that's what I did. And then what it looks like on the teacher dashboard is, for question 1, before I omitted, I had, again, the color-coded bars. But as you can tell right now, it's no longer there because it's been omitted and the scores have been recalculated. So I hope you enjoyed my favorite feature.
That was awesome. Thanks, Karen.
So that's one thing that I really like using in the classroom. One thing that I did forget to mention, this is my second year doing standard space. So when it comes to using Edulastic, I really enjoy the fact that I can search assessments based on specific standards that we're targeting. And based on our curriculum, we have priority standards, also known as the essential standards. So with Edulastic, being able to filter the questions based on the standard, that really helps us target. So as you saw on the video, it's at Unit 2, GCO 6. So when I create the assessments on Edulastic, they all have this standard that I'm specifically targeting. So it helps me see, based on questions, okay, this is a GCO 6 question, but does this question encompass the entire standard or parts of the standard? So for that specific, that really encompassed GCO 6. So that's why I wanted to omit that question, because I knew I had to go back and reteach from a different perspective to truly help students be able to improve their grading on the next formative, where I can include that question again to see the growth of mastery between that standard before and after. Now, on the next slide, another feature that I like from Edulastic and Google Classroom was already mentioned at the beginning, but I just really enjoy how it's, once you've graded and you've done it all, completed everything that you need to do and graded the questions that need grading, it automatically transfers over to Google Classroom. And right here in the pink box, as you can see, these are the scores that I have. And as you can see, there's another assignment that was also posted on Google Classroom. So really what it would look like, you'd have more of these columns based on however many assessments you do. And then once you return it to students, students are able to see their scores and be able to move forward. And it's super simple to understand. So just, it's great for me. I love it. Since I've tried Edulastic in August, in the summers when I started knowing about it, it works wonders for me in the classroom, and I hope it does the same thing for everyone else. And I think that's it. Actually, no, there's a couple more, one more or two more. If you're in Palm Springs, I will be presenting for the CMC South Conference coming up in less than 2 weeks. And I will be also talking about how Edulastic has helped me in the transition of standards-based grading and how it really empowers teachers in the classroom and how it changes the dynamic in the classroom for students and teachers. So if you could join us, that would be definitely a great experience for you guys. And I think that's it on that one. I might be wrong, but I think I'm good. Is there one more, or are we good?
I think that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was fantastic. Yeah, and if anyone wants to connect with Karen, you'll get a chance to see her Twitter handle again near the end of the presentation.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Karen. I saw a bunch of comments in the chat come through about this omitting feature. Some people are very excited to start using that, so thanks for sharing that and how it works with Google Classroom too. All right, so is Katrina ready? All right, I'm gonna jump back then to slide 22. And Katrina, I'd love to invite you to join us again. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. And feel free to start your camera too.
Okay, hold on.
No. If it's too hard, don't worry about it.
It says I can't start my video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, let me ask you to start it.
All right, there we go.
Excellent. We can see you. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina Golden. I teach at GEO Prep Mid-City in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We are a K-8 charter school, and our students are high poverty and low achieving. So we use Edulastic and Google Classroom in a variety of ways. The first way is we have, in Louisiana, we use what's called DRC. And for our computer labs, we have to, the IT team has to load an app, and it just takes a whole lot of time away from the kids, the students doing their tests. So we use Edulastic. And so the way we use Edulastic is to give our students, specifically our K-8 students, the opportunity to use the computers in a testing environment, because they take the state standardized test on the computer. So this is my first time presenting, so please bear with me.
Do you want me to go to the next slide for you? Just let me know.
Yes, please.
Okay, because I have that control, so you can just say next.
Okay, next. Okay, so in my upper elementary classes, grades 3 through 5, we use Google Classroom to keep track of our assignments, assessments, and we also do typing. So I'm able to give them assignments like we spoke of before, and they can log into the different typing programs and everything with Google Classroom. In 3 to 5, in our 3 to 5 math classrooms, we use Edulastic for our exit tickets, additional practice, quizzes, and assessments. We're actually on the Affirm platform, which is linked with Edulastic. So we do in math, we use Eureka. So they have a lot of different questions that our math teachers can use to assess students, give them exit tickets, and the additional practice on the computer. You can go to the next slide, please. So with 4th grade math, and I don't know if I can click that.
If you want to click it, because I think I can't open it since I don't have access to your classroom. If you would like to share it yourself, you can share this presentation on your screen and click it.
I have no idea how to do that.
Oh, okay.
but I wanted you to see how we kind of set it up. And I did not know about the omit feature, so that is something that I'm definitely going to take back to my school and to our math teachers so they can know. We haven't had a lot of training on using Google Classroom and Edulastic. For me personally, I learned about Google Classroom a couple years ago when I taught middle school, and so I got a lot of training on that because the school I was at was one-to-one. However, this school is one-to-one as well. We just don't have we just didn't have a lot of time to do those trainings. But the teachers come in, you know, they're getting the hang of it and they've been using it. So it's working for us. We also use it for our LEAP 360 interim assessments. And what those are, they're basically kind of like practice tests based on the our LEAP 2025 test. And it's a shorter version, but we give it 3 times a year. The first being at the beginning of the year, diagnostic, and then the second, we're actually gearing up to take the second interim, and then they're going to take a third interim. What we use Edulastic for is because our 3rd and 4th graders take the test on paper, we use Edulastic. I enter in the assessment, and we use the bubble sheets, and we can actually go back after I scan the bubble sheets. They get the data I give them the data from that, and they can see what standards they need to work on or what the students are missing. In our ELA classes, we haven't used it as much this year because we're transitioning to a new Tier 1 curriculum, which is Wit and Wisdom. So I think probably as the school year goes along, we're going to be able to use that a little bit more so our students can get the practice that they need to be successful with the technology enhanced items that are only 2025, like the drag and drop, with math, the writing, the expressions, the equations, social studies with the typing, the responses, because they don't have a lot of time, to take those tests. They're only like 90 minutes, and they have to read a passage, answer questions, and then write an essay. And with our demographic of students, we have to kind of push them to be cognizant of their time and to be able to actually complete the test. So that's really how we have been using it. And we also, Edulastic has the state practice test on the platform. So last year, what we did was we broke it off into sessions and set it up just like the LEAP test is set up, and gave them the same amount of time and everything. So they could get another feel for using the computers and Edulastic. And I think that was my last slide.
Okay, great. Thank you, Katrina.
You're welcome.
That is. If at some point you do want to share your screen and share the assessments, we can return to that after Narissa's presentation. And
okay,
if not, that's fine, because I think your description was wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. That was fantastic. All right, now I'll jump ahead to slide 30. And I'll ask Katrina to turn off her video and audio. And Narissa, please turn on your video and audio and introduce yourself. Welcome. And Narissa is joining us immediately from her class ending today here in California.
It says that I can't start video because the host has stopped it.
Thank you. I'll start it for you. Do you see the option now? Oh, there we go.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. You can see you and hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello, everyone. I'm a little nervous because I just finished class. So I want to talk about, can we go to my, okay. When I was working on this, after I did this, I realized, they want Google Classroom, but I was thinking already of sharing the power of the redirect tool. So I'm just going to go ahead with this one. I do reassessment, and it's done wonders for my students. These are the reasons why I do that. Professor Keith Devlin from Stanford University said that repeatedly trying and failing is an essential part of learning. And so I noticed that a lot of my kids make mistakes the first time they take an assessment. And so I want to give them the opportunity to go back and fix their mistakes. So it's been a practice in the classroom, in my classroom, for the past 3 years. And if we could go to my next slide, I think I'm like going fast. And then I came across Rick Wormelli, who said that we don't have to, the goal for the curriculum is not to finish on the same day for all the students. So I give my students time. We don't have deadlines. I just want them to, I tell them, I just want you to do the work. And then he said that allowing students to redo both assignments and assessments are very effective. And I noticed that that is true. So if we could go to my next. Reassessments are great, but a lot of the teachers who are not using Edulastic, they say that it is time consuming to create new tests, it's difficult to manage, and students are not taking the first attempt seriously. And so all these issues are, I think, solved by Edulastic. So if we could go to the next slide. So Edulastic comes to the rescue. With redirect, I don't have to create new assessments. I just have my students, I send the assessment to the students, and I have an option to make them retake the entire assessment again, or just fix the mistakes. And then they can attempt as many times as needed. And the good thing about Edulastic is it keeps track of the attempts. So some students of mine, I will see that they attempted the assessment 4 times, and then they got a good score. And they start from, let's say, I don't know, 40, and then they go up to like 85 or even 90, 97. So that's, I could see the growth from that. And I think that's a very good way of using Edulastic. Now that was too fast. Can we go to the Edulastic and Google Classroom?
Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, hold on.
I'm so nervous.
You're doing awesome. This is fantastic. Everyone in the chat is saying they're loving learning about this. So thank you for sharing this.
And the result for the past 3 years, I noticed that students take ownership of their learning. They learn how to persevere because they have to take the assessment several times. And they learn the concepts at a deeper level. So I have students that I have this year who were with me last year, and in their reflections, they would say, they were surprised that they remembered most of the stuff that we talked about last year. It's because they kept retaking their assessments. And then, can we go to the next one? Because of the difficulty to manage retakes, Google Classroom is a good way to sync grades, but I haven't done that, and I'm going to explore that. So I think it will help me a lot to change grades after the retakes. So some of my students retake several times, and they always want to see the grade reflected on their grade book. So they email me and say, could you please update? So with the sync, the grade sync, that would lessen some of my work. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you, Narissa. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, there's a question in the chat. So I'm going to welcome all of the panelists to turn on their video and audio again and join us for Q&A. I know there is a question in the chat right now for Narissa. What is it?
Hi. I don't see what question.
I'll let you know what it is. 1 second. What is it, Leslie? Sorry. Oh, could Edulastic take the average of multi-attempts so students don't keep taking until 100? How many times do you redirect?
How many? Oh, it's as many times. So some students take 7 times, 4 times, and when they ask me to update their scores, so I'll go back to their work, and I will see attempt number 4. Okay, attempt number 4, they got 85. If I go back to attempt number 3, I will see their score on attempt number 3. I will see their mistakes on attempt number 3. So I thought that was very cool, because I can keep track of how much growth they made from the first attempt to however many attempts it took them to get to that score that they like. And my ceiling is 100. I tell them, go for 100. And it's okay for me to like keep sending it back to them. It's funny because I have girls who did not want to email me because it's weekend. They said, Miss G, we don't want to bother you on the weekend. And I said, it's okay. Just send me an email. So I thought that redirect is a very, very wonderful tool.
Awesome, thank you. And then there's kind of a second question that is related to this. Narissa, this is Timothy or Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Narissa, with the redirect tool, is there a way to alter the test so that it is a different test but covering the same concepts, or would the test be the same test?
Mm-hmm. I think Edulastic can answer that, but I think that I can't do that. If I want another say I want to change questions, I think I will just make another version of the test and then just change numbers. Let's say I'll say form A or form B, and then I'll change the numbers, or I'll completely change the questions, but it will not be the same test. Okay. I think.
So I think
maybe
so
someone
when you're redirecting, it's the same test, but you
you can only redirect the same test.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was what he was trying to get at. Okay. Can you send some questions? Or do they have to be the whole test? I think Audrey is asking. You can assign the whole test.
You can like erase their answers and start over again. You can, I think you have the option to do that, but I just want my students to focus on their mistakes. Yeah.
And I think Jan can share a link that talks more about the redirect tool and its features as well. Great. Does anybody have questions for any of the panelists or all of the panelists, Narissa, Katrina, and Karen? Let me see what came through in our Q&A too. All right. My screen is kind of, can't find the Q&A. Does the redirect make them answer all the questions, or can you? Okay, so I think we kind of just answered this. The question is, does the redirect make them answer all the questions, or can you just have them answer the ones they got incorrect? Yeah, you can have them answer the ones that they got incorrect. All right, so you have a question for Katrina. I think it's probably do you have multiple examples for the state test?
Yeah, I have. Let me see. Let me go to my. Oh, okay. Here's one. So I just put in the fourth grade, and I can show you.
And Tony, if you could change your chat so you're sending it to everyone, not just all panelists, so everyone can see it, that'd be great. Thanks.
We have I'm not sure what you mean by do we have multiple, did you say multiple versions, multiple examples? Well, we have, they have the.
If you could maybe elaborate, that could be helpful.
Wait, say it again, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, Tony, if you could elaborate a little bit, I think that would be helpful for Katrina.
Well, we have like the Leap 360, which is like a shorter version, and then they have the same practice test for Leap that they have on the Louisiana Believes website is the same test that they have on Edulastic. The Leap 360 is a shorter version, but it's the same type of questions. They're still Leap-like questions, so the students can kind of get a feel for what's going to be on the test, but they only have it for math and reading. And if you, I'm not sure if you're in Louisiana, but if you are, I think your testing coordinator could get you either the study guide for the upper grades, which has an actual version of the test, or you, okay, you're in Baton Rouge. Okay, so you can ask your testing coordinator to get you copies of the diagnostic and the 2 interim tests for Leap 360. And then Edulastic has the practice test. But I'm not sure what grades you're teaching. If you're teaching the lower grades, like I think it starts at 5th grade.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question for all the panelists. How has your instruction changed after incorporating Edulastic and Google Classroom? What was it like before and how has it changed now? I know you kind of touched on this during your presentation.
So for me, before it was a little bit harder to really try to target instruction when I was working with my students who were struggling. So with Edulastic, when I create review work or we're working in bins, I'm able to assign based on DOK or the standards, whether it's review or practice for at level, while I'm also working in a smaller group setting with my students who really need that targeted instruction, and I'm able to walk through them with Edulastic problem by problem, and that gives me the ability to focus on that small group while the rest of the students are reviewing or focusing on specific standards. So I'm really targeting the standards that we're working on without missing out from anything in the classroom. So that has completely been a game changer for me. Students like it because they know what standard they're working on and the types of questions they're dealing with.
Awesome. Yeah, Karen's been doing a lot with standards-based grading, so if anyone has further questions on that, it's been really cool to hear what she's doing.
Well, for me with Google Classroom, it's made my teaching, well, when I taught English, it made it more student facilitated because they were able to work on assignments and, you know, send them to me and I could make comments and send it back and they would fix it. Specifically more so when I taught 6th and 7th grade, because I taught English for 9 years before I started teaching computers. So we, the student, I was able to give the students assignments and then they would work on them by themselves and they really liked that part of it. And they would send it to me and I would grade it or make comments and then they would fix it and send it back. So it took it, they became more in charge of their education or learning than I was.
That's awesome. Better student empowerment, it sounds like.
Definitely.
For me, I think that my classroom is not now limited to the 4 walls. After using Edulastic, my students are communicating with me after school, asking me to return their quiz or update their scores, or if they are stuck on a problem, they'll send me a picture of their work and they'll say, Miss G, I got stuck on this problem. What's my mistake? What am I not seeing? And so the conversation continues even outside the classroom. So I thought that was a game changer too.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we have 10 more minutes for questions and answers. And I want to allow that to happen because I know we have a lot of good chat happening in the chat. We have a couple more questions coming through. Before we get to those, I do want to just share a couple more slides. I want to point out that we have some upcoming webinars that you can join on. If you liked this one, we have a webinar, Edulastic for Math, next week, the day after, and then Wednesday next week is social studies. The following week, we have Edulastic for ELA and for science. So if you are interested in diving more into your subject area, or you have a colleague you think would enjoy learning more tips and tricks for specific subjects, we encourage you to join. And I think Jan's going to share the link for that in the chat so you can access it now. And in our follow-up, we'll also send out that link as well. And I also want to let you know that if you aren't done with the conversation when we end in about 10 minutes, we're hopping right over to Twitter for a Twitter chat about PLCs, professional learning communities. So you can keep the conversation and learning going there on Twitter using the hashtag #EdAssessChat. And now back to the questions. So I think we have, Eddie is asking Katrina, how does Edulastic help you as a computer teacher?
Well, for me, it's not just computers. I also do some interventions with reading and language. So we use that to assist them on the concepts that we worked on that particular day or that particular, because I only see my students once a week, and the majority of them I see for 45 minutes, and I have 2 classes that I see for an hour and a half because we're a TAP school. So in the classes that I have for an hour and a half, we actually get to dig a little bit deeper. But with my 45-minute classes, we use that to, for typing. We use Google Classroom for typing. And then I also go back, for me, I'm kind of in charge of doing all the data for the LEAP 360 test, especially for 3rd and 4th grade. So I go back, and after I scan in the bubble sheets, and then I make, send the reports out with the data. And then I also help my colleagues with their classes with the data and setting up the test and those kind of things.
Awesome, thank you. Wow, our vents turned on and it sounds like a storm in here. Hopefully it's a transfer here. I want to also let everyone know that when you log off today, you're going to get a survey, and if you could just fill out that survey, it's I think about 5 questions, really brief. We'd love to hear your feedback on the webinar, what you loved, what you'd like to see next time, so that we can make these opportunities even better. Oh, it's also in the chat now. Thank you, Jan. Great. Certain hashtag on Twitter. Yes. Oh, that's for the Twitter chat. Dan will enter that. It's @EdAssessChat. Eddie is asking, Edie. Oh, thank you for the clarification, Edie. Thank you, Leslie. Okay, as someone whose name gets mispronounced a lot, I appreciate that. Edie, okay, are there computer standards in Edulastic? A quick note before Katrina answers that. If you don't see our standards in Edulastic, email us at support@edulastic.com and we can work with you to get those up, or if maybe you're not seeing them, we can point in the right direction. Katrina, I'll let you answer Edie's question.
I've not seen any computer standards in Edulastic, but again, my school, because of the demographic, the computer classes, so they can learn the skills to use the computers for reading and math and social studies and science. So I'm typically looking at the English and math standards. But I'm gonna look again to see the I'm gonna research a little bit more, because I see that he says that they do have computer science standards.
That's Lydia, co-founder.
And then too, I have younger kids. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade. So some of that, they our standards in Louisiana may be a little different than other places, because it's like, oh, well, you just have to be able to open a document or use a mouse or, that kind of thing. It's not really using, Word or Excel or Google Docs or Google Slides or Google Sheets proficiently. Not in the elementary grades. Now, once they get to the middle school and high school, they do, but not particularly in elementary school.
Great, thank you. And we only have a few more minutes. I want to ask our panelists if they have any parting insights or suggestions for people, or thoughts or advice that maybe has not been said that you think would be helpful to know.
I would say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just always like ending on an open note, so go ahead.
I would say just to play with it. I mean, when I came across it on Instagram, it just piqued my interest, and I just started playing with it. I sat down and started exploring the ins and outs of it, and that truly got me up and running with it. And then just finding the features little by little. Us teachers, we just get excited for like little things. So being able to have that experience, it was amazing for me. And so I kind of see teachers that I've had the same experience, and I shared it with my math teachers, and they did the same thing. They played with it, and they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it does this. So I definitely encourage everyone to just take some time, maybe 20 minutes in your day just playing with it. You'll want more time, trust me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like when I came to the school that I'm at currently, I already had the background in Google Classroom, and one of the very first PDs that I attended, we were introduced to Edulastic, and I just kind of went with it from there. One of the things I would say is just trust yourself. Like, the computer's not gonna blow up. You just, because a lot of times, I have my colleagues are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't understand. It's okay, girl. It's this little error at the top, and you can just undo everything that you did and then start, and start all over again. And it doesn't take that long to kind of figure it out, and playing with it, just kind of delving into it and just doing a lot of different things. Because I learn something new every time I do something on Edulastic. So it's, or if it's something that I can't find, I kind of try to research it, or I'll send an email to the little chat on the side. But for the most part, it's very user friendly, and you can definitely, Leslie, yes, undo in real life, yes. And yes, Miss Driscoll, the lead practice tests from DOE are on the website, but not the 360 test. But I put third and fourth math in Edulastic for the LEAP 360. And if you just type in Louisiana in the search bar for when you're looking for assessments, they'll come up. The Louisiana test will come up for math, and they have all four actually: science, social studies, math, and ELA.
Great, thank you.
I saw the question come across the chat.
Perfect.
But you can also email me. I put my email as well if you need some help with it, and I could probably send you those 360 tips.
Cool. I know it's 4 o'clock, so I want to quickly say something before I let Narissa answer that final open question. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we're really grateful that you took time out of your Tuesday to join us and learn about this, and we're here to support you on Twitter or through email. Just reach out to us. I think all the panelists have already indicated they're very open to chatting more about what's been talked about today. And then also encourage you to join our community page on Facebook, because that's a really great place to continue conversations with one another and share ideas. Oh, the light went out. Marissa's doing a dance for us before she shares her final comments.
Okay. Am I on?
You're on. We can hear you and see you.
So my advice would be just to try small, and then You'll never look back. I think I will not be able to teach without Edulastic anymore. It's a very, very good help for me. Like I can focus on a lot of things rather than grading papers. So that's a lot. That's great. So just try, and I'm pretty sure you'll reach the sky.
No, I like that. Try and reach the sky, and it rhymes too. I'm about to share the community page link. So let me just find where that is. Multitasking. Now Jan went off to start the Twitter chat for everyone who wanted to join that. Where is our community page? Here it is. Okay. Yes. Oh, that was an event. Sorry. Can I delete that? You can ignore that unless you want to go visit Edulastic for, oh, there's undo? There's no undo on Zoom. What the heck? Okay. All right. Here we go. We're all human. Okay. Here is the community page. I'm going to type that right next to where I'm posting it so you can see where it is. And make sure you answer those questions when you join the page. That's how we make sure we're not adding robots or trolls or spammers. All you have to do is let us know why you're joining and what school you teach at. And yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much, Nerissa, Katrina, Karen, for joining us, for sharing your insights. It's really great to hear what you're doing. I always learn something new on these webinars myself, like how you're using that omit button, Karen, how you're using it for LEAP testing, Katrina, and Nerissa, your awesome interactions with your students with redirect. I think that's so cool. So again, thanks everyone for joining today, and we hope you have a wonderful time. We hope to see you for future events. It's always great getting together and sharing what's been going on. So join us on EdSS chat. Otherwise, see you soon. Have a great day, and look for a follow-up with a recording where you can revisit anything that we talked about here if you'd like.